Righto, here we are, episode 5 of the ForeRight podcast. We have been a little bit slack with our episodes. I take full responsibility for that. You're keen, and I'm keen, but it just has been a bit of a struggle. But anyway, what we thought today was a bit of a review of the Open Championship. It is my favourite major.
Why is it?
Well, I think because of the courses. I've always juggled between Augusta, and maybe if you ask me in April, maybe the Masters is my favourite, but just the golf courses, I think, at the Open, and memories of, getting up in the early hours of the morning in front of the fire with Dad, watching Sevi, and that was even before I played golf. But yeah, so, really cool event, and got up again this morning, not with my dad this time, that'd be a bit weird. But yeah, got up and watched it 4 a.m. You obviously got up?
I did get up. Yeah, and it's interesting you say about being favourite, because when it does come time, I go, yeah, it is my favourite. But like you, in April, I go, it's all about the Masters. I got the first major. You're excited for the first one of the year. It's been a few months since a major. And knowing the course so well and looking forward to sort of anticipating, what shots you're going to see, kind of have an idea of how it's going to unfold, but not who's going to be there. Whereas with the Open, as soon as I look at the start of the week and it's from 5:30 p.m. until 7:30 a.m., it's got 14 hours of coverage.
Yeah.
I just get absolutely buzzed and really look forward to it. So, yeah, this morning I set the alarm for 2 o'clock and got up just after that. And the leaders were on about the 4th hole. So, yeah, watched it all and snapped straight back to sleep as Xander finished the job.
Yeah, it was a bit. I got up at 4 o'clock. And it was a little bit of an underwhelming. Like, I think when I got up, Xander might have been on 13, and it was a bit underwhelming. What it could have been with the finish, with the leaderboard jammed out, was yesterday. But going back to your point around the 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., I think in round 1, Kazuma's tee time was like 4:35 p.m.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine getting a tee time at 4:35 p.m. in a major, spending all day just nervous and waiting.
It's a long time to wait. I'm not sure if I could sleep. It'd be hard to. You wouldn't want to break your routine either. You probably build up quite nicely, and once you wake up at 7 a.m. or 6:30, whatever time they get up, what would you do?
Yeah. What would you do? Well, I mean, what time was he coming down the last hole? If it's a 4.5 hour round, 5 hour round, he's coming down the last hole at 9 at night. Yeah, and then, well, I guess your early morning start. The flip side of that is his morning start was probably 11:30, so didn't have to get up too early. But that's pretty unique in itself, I think.
It'll almost be a crossover with the last group finishing their round, and then the guys 10 off in the morning. The next morning, arriving for their tea time, they get there a couple of hours early and do the gym work. It must be a little bit crossover.
Yeah. The volunteers would be 24 hours.
Yeah.
And the golf course was outstanding.
Yeah.
Do you think it shows you? Like, I love that, especially those first couple of days. Like day 1 wasn't even massively windy, and the scoring average was 74.44. So the best players in the world, and I know that it is a long course, but it didn't seem to be the length that was being the issue. It seemed to be everything that went with that: the complex greens, the pot bunkers, the angles, and I mean that postage stamp caused havoc. Right? It was a 99-yard hole.
Yeah.
So cool. And that would be, why aren't we building more golf courses like that? And that was built, how many 100 years ago was that built?
You can do some pretty cool things. One thing I like about the bunkers is they have the aerial shots, and the bunkers are so small, but the catchment areas are huge. So you don't want to come within 10 metres of it, because everything beats in, even though they are so small. But then because they are so small, they're so difficult to get out of. You literally have to just get your lob wedge and get out, not even about advancing it.
Yeah. And then I guess from our point of view, being Kiwis, it was pretty cool to see that practice round. I mean, to have 4 Kiwis in the Open, pretty special. I'm not sure, maybe back in Turner, Perks, Nobilo, Campbell, maybe back in those days we might have done 4. But to have 4 in one Open, and the cool thing was seeing them play together in the practice round.
Yeah. They did all right too.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. Dan tied 19th.
Yeah.
Foxy 2 back, but
he was 25th in the end.
25th, yeah.
he was on a bit of a roll. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I watched him before I went to bed. It must have been before I went to bed, but he made 3 birdies in a row, and then he 3-putted. He just missed his birdie and 3-putted, and then made another birdie. But he had a pretty good front 9, and then maybe a birdie.
Yeah.
So I should maybe 3, 4 under.
Yeah, I think it was 4 under.
4 under today.
And obviously jumped up the leaderboard a bit.
Another top 25, and that must be about 8 or 9 majors in a row he's made the cut.
Yeah.
He made them all last year and all this year.
Because he made them all this year.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, pretty impressive record.
Yeah. And that was Dan's first cut in a major after four attempts. And Kazuma, unfortunately for him, missed the cut by 1.
Yeah, he's a leading Kiwi after the first day.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
really well.
And look, it's probably not a golf course that suits him based on his length, but pretty cool experience and it's pretty challenging golf course. I wonder, like one of the great things about that app was you can see the shot tracker and you can look at where people go. There's some holes where he's only just getting to the field. Like, I think the 4th hole was one case, and man, that must be mentally taxing. Not only do you have to hit it straight, but you got to hit it a certain.
Got to step on one and flush it
just to get it to the field. Yeah, that must be on your mind.
Surely. Yeah, you probably have more of an idea than me.
Well, mine was not so much hitting. It's more of a.
Yeah, there's not too many places in New Zealand where that would be an issue.
No, not at all. Paul Bugger, though, I want to say that might be the 4th or 5th event that he's missed the cut by 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's pretty, it must be pretty sickening. At least, I did say to him, at least you're birding the last.
Yeah.
To miss by 1, so you're not kicking yourself and not holding the putt on the last hole or something. But, again, cool for him to be up there. And for Dan, I think. Especially because Dan's first 9 holes. I don't know if you saw his front line in round 1, but it was pretty gnarly.
No,
I don't actually know I want to say he made triple bogey on the postage stamp. I think he went out in 4 or 5 over.
Yeah.
Did well to hang on the way back, and then
back 9 to, or even his last 9 to,
which is
5.
Yeah, I think that's the hard 9. Interesting to pull up the scores actually, but got off to a hell of a bad start. But you know me, I love stats.
You do?
This stat is wicked, I reckon.
Okay.
So, strokes gained approach is generally a pretty good measure because, it's pretty good. It's a pretty broad spectrum. It's not just strokes gained off the tee. It can be heavily biased to distance. Although in saying that, I think Kazuma, although he only played 2 rounds, so it's hard to know, but he was ahead of Dan in strokes gained. And I think through 2 rounds, he was actually ahead of Foxy.
I remember you mentioning that, yeah.
So, in strokes gained off the tee. Now, that's probably based on the fact that the course is pretty brutally tight. But strokes gained approach, number 1 was Scotty Scheffler, number 1 player in the world, and in contention.
And he's has a massive lead in that category. Pretty much every event and for the season, he's ahead of everyone.
It's almost Tiger-like, eh? Yeah. So he was number 1 for the week, so insert surprise. Number 2, Xander Schauffele. So he's pretty good. He ended up winning, obviously.
A couple of majors in this year.
Yeah. Number 4, Justin Rose.
Yeah.
Amazing ball striker. Yeah. Number 3, Daniel Hillier. Number 3, strokes gained approach for the event.
Look at the names.
Yeah. Just so you go Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Dan Hillier, Justin Rose. That's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah. I was pretty excited to see that.
So what can we take? What can we take from that?
Dan's a flusher.
Mm-hmm. So you've done some coaching work with him. Without looking at all the stats, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but do you go, there's some low-hanging fruit or there's some stuff that, hey, you don't have to work on too much to be there? I mean, he wasn't far off anyway. Or was that exceptional for Dan? Or was that kind of, if he plays well, that's where he'll be?
No, I think if he plays well, I think he's a hell of a ball striker. So I think if he plays well, that's where he's at. I I think the distance off the tee. So here's another interesting stat with Dan. He was sixth in distance off the tee for the week. And British Open week, maybe that's a skewed stat because you get wind and you get bounces and all sorts. But over 72 holes, it should be pretty fair. And Foxy was 28th. Yep. So Dan 6, Foxy 28, Kazuma maybe a little bit further back in terms of distance.
So on just while you're talking about distance off the tee, does that only count the times you're at driver? Because I know a lot of those holes on the first hole, a lot of guys are just hitting 4-iron, but they have 4 or 5-iron into the green, whereas if you have driver, you have a little slower. So do you know how they work?
No, I don't. Good question. But I assume that most of those guys are probably playing not a dissimilar game plan. I think the course kind of lends itself to that. So while it may not be sixth, it still shows he's a pretty impressive ball striker.
The reason I thought of that is watching this morning. I think they pronounce it Tristan, but Tristan looks like spelled Lawrence, the South African guy who was leading at one stage, and as you said, you got up a little bit late, but it was touch and go there for a long time.
4 a.m.
Yeah, a little bit late. It was touch and go, but he just no hesitation, grabbed driver and just ripped it every hole. And the other guys, Horschel was hitting iron off the tee or hybrid, and he just ripped driver. So I wonder if he would have a big game in that. But I mean, there's consequences to that, obviously. But he flushed. So it was cool to see that he just went, I don't care. The driver.
I'm coming at you.
Or to be that good to not have to not have to worry.
Yeah. Well, I heard one of the commentators saying how hard that first tee shot is with ForeRight because you're nervous and you've got a little blade. But man, I'd much prefer that than having to hit a driver on that first tee shot. But so maybe because I think most people like the driver, right? It's just the big head. It's the most forgiving. Tee it up and get the support. But maybe Tristan just is comfortable hitting that. Who knows?
If I go back to Dan, so he's number 6.
Sixth in the league, he lost a ball on again in round 1. It might not have been the closest shot. I think on the 11th hole he might have made double, triple, lost a ball. So that sort of stat really just strokes games right because it's literally cost you 2 shots right there. And he's an incredible ball striker. Sometimes I wonder, and this is a compliment. What do they call it? Like a backhanded compliment. So, because I'm sure Dan's an avid listener of the podcast. But I think because he's such a good ball striker, he maybe takes things on that other people don't see as even options because, like, he just can't hit that shot. So while I try, I'll just hit it over there. But I think because he can hit those shots, he does try sometimes, and maybe winds up in a bit of trouble. I think he maybe makes more bogeys and double bogeys than his peers. It probably makes more birdies. So that good is good. But, you and I, obviously, the cricket fans, and I often think about Mark Richardson with his 3 shots that he had. But it became an asset. It became a real tool for him because cricket was simple. Whereas Dan's got every shot under the sun. And therefore, I'm not sure, like, Tiger had every shot, Scotty Scheffler's got every shot. So I'm not saying it's not as an excuse, but I reckon when he gets that balance of understanding, and this is only my opinion, right? Who am I to critique him? But like Tiger always said, he had the most conservative strategy of all of his peers, and that's why he was so good. Dan's got a great caddy, so he's got the Olympics next week, him and Foxy in Libya.
Yeah. Nice to validate that selection a little bit as well, because a little bit touch and go. Obviously, he qualified through the official World Golf Rankings, and his place in the Olympic standing, but New Zealand Olympic Committee have to select him, and thankfully they did, and it was cool to see him go well this week. Just as a little added.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking me.
Yeah. And I reckon Le Golf National will be a cool event for both him and Foxy. as a golf course because
So you've been there. You went there with
Eisenhower in 2022 maybe.
Yeah.
Awesome, and it was hosted the Ryder Cup. And amazing golf course, great finishing holes, real good stretch, and a real ball striker's course. So for Foxy and Dan, like that should be, it should be right up their alley. But look, best players in the world, they all flush it. So, but that will be cool to watch. Yeah.
So where does Dan go to from here game wise in terms of the stats? He can hit it as good as the best players in the world. He's got the length. What are his short game and putting stats? How do they match up?
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, the challenge is he doesn't have that many short game shots because he hits it so good. He can probably improve a little bit with his short game. His putting's been improving, I think, year on year since he's been on tour. He's got a really good coach, John Carson, I think is his name, off the top of my head. And yeah, since Dan's been working with him, he seems to have gone from strength to strength, which is pretty cool. But yeah, and I think it's time. It's like we've got to remember he's only been on that DP tour. This is only a second year on tour. When you're a junior golfer, or when you're new to golf, let's say junior golfer, because they tend to progress more, but you can shoot 75 at your home course with your mates, but then you go to a tournament and you shoot 85, and you don't really know what the difference is. And then you start shooting 85, you start shooting 75 in those tournaments, but then you go to a national tournament and shoot 85, and you're like, I still don't know what the difference is. And I think it's just getting comfortable in the surroundings.
Yeah.
And then, like your game doesn't have to be. I remember with Sam Jones when he was playing Charles Tours and he was, only sort of just making cuts. And then a year later, he's winning all of them, or at least, contending in the last few groups. And his golf hadn't really got it. I mean, it had a little bit, but not that much. Not that much better. But I think he was just more comfortable in those surroundings, and he was like, okay, this feels normal now. So I think with Dan, there'll be a bit of that once he gets to the point where he's comfortable and he's happy. Well, what will be interesting, I think, will be what Foxy does next year. Will he stay on the PGA Tour or will he come back to DP? Any thoughts on that?
Not really, not particularly. Be a cool problem to have to have those opportunities. It seems like the gaps getting bigger between the PGA Tour and the DP is almost a feeder to the PGA Tour now. It feels like that. So it feels like the decision's already made that you kind of have to play. If you have the opportunity, you have to play on the PGA Tour, especially with the bigger prize pools and the opportunity to play in signature events, which are almost worth more than the majors now. Something about me just would love to travel around Europe and play some of those courses.
Yeah.
Especially, we actually spoke about it earlier. We don't see much links golf, and it's cool to watch. Maybe not as much fun to play. Not sure. So I've no idea what he'd do or.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like I think about it and go, easy, as you say, great problem to have, but to me, the US seems like one-dimensional in many ways. It seems like you're playing the same sort of course over and over again. It's all just bomb it. When I'm sure it's not. Whereas if, like, Foxy's got good mates in Europe, I'm sure he's got good mates in America too, but, I think if you can still master your craft, whatever tour you're on, he can still get into all the majors. He shows he's, as you said, 8 in a row, cuts made. So if you're truly driven just by loving golf and the mastery of it, then, and you love being in Europe, traveling with your mates, and you love that environment, then to me, I think, cool, I really get that, versus playing in the US where it feels a little bit more commercial and it's a bit more for the money, and you still can do your mastery stuff, but I don't know. I think for him, the opportunity is to prove that he's one of the best in the world, which he's already done. But now it becomes winning majors. And if you can do that from the European Tour. I just think, I don't know, the characters on the European Tour seem cooler. You know, like Eddie Pepperell, Tommy Fleetwood. Like they seem to have, I don't know, there's something cool about it.
Bit of personality, bit of character as well.
Yeah, and they do some funny stuff. Whereas, I don't know, in the US it just seems like a bit more of a travelling circus.
Yeah. Hot take.
Hot take, yeah. From the guy that would cut off his left arm to play on either tour, yeah.
So we've known for a while now the strokes gain that the best players in the world, the biggest separation is in that strokes gain approach, and especially in the longer stuff, is it outside of 150 and above, 175 to 200 and 250. So what can we learn from that, or what can club golfers learn from that? How can they improve? There's the old saying, drive for show, putt for dough. But data has kind of proven that to be not quite as correct.
Yeah, there's a few things there I think that are interesting, and one would be going back to, and I'm going to forget what I was going to say, but one was be going back to what Alex Peterson said, I think, when, because was it Russell Henley doing all right? No, who was the American this week?
Yep.
I want to say top 4 or 5.
Yep.
The land angle that he had coming into the greens, he just couldn't hold it. You know, the ball flight, he obviously maybe a little bit more like, it's a something Kazuma struggles with. Doesn't have enough speed on it, so therefore he's coming in with a flat landing angle and he can't hold the greens. So I think as a learning, if that's important, that distance range, then stocking your bag with hybrids and high lofted fairway woods, to me, would be a way better option than 4 and 5 irons.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say for most people, even people with high club head speed now, get rid of the 4 and 5 iron, get hybrids in the bag. They're so much easier to hit, so much more versatile. They launch up. And, the pros are carrying 7 woods and 9 woods and 5 woods. So there is that element. And the other part would be Simon Thomas actually gave me a formula the other day, which I really liked. I've been thinking about it, and I think it's right. You go, to get your score, you go 95 minus...
Yep, you got my score. Good.
minus greens in regulation times 2 equals your score. So if you hit 12 greens, which is something that we talk about when we take our national teams away, hit 12 greens, that's your benchmark. So 12 times 2 is 24. 95 minus 24, 71.
Yep.
So you break par. So you think, oh, yeah. So 95, if you hit 9 greens, 95 minus 18, 77.
Yep.
You're like, yep, okay, that's about fair. So I quite like that as a formula to go, because I think people are so quick to go, I don't hit the ball good enough. And, I've got a slice. Like, who cares if it's going where you want it to go? Who cares? And then on the PGA Tour, the distance or average dispersion from the fairway versus the rough, and admittedly their rough might be a bit longer, but I would offset that with I've got more speed and more skill to deal with that longer rough. So let's say that equals itself out. The difference in dispersion is 50 yards. So between 125 and 150 from the fairway, the average is closer than it is from 75 to 100 out of the rough. So if you're going to hit it in the rough, make sure you're 50 yards further up than you would be.
So you need, if you're going to miss the fairway, you need to be 50 yards further than the guys.
Yeah. So, because, and we've had this, what do you call it? This rhetoric lately of drive it as far as you can, strokes gain means that. Yes, it does. But if you're on the short stuff, that's a massive advantage. And so if you think about that 50 yards, so the goal would be to give myself the best approach play strokes gained opportunities, or the best opportunities to score lower. Hit on the short stuff. So hit it as far as you can on the best lie possible.
Yep.
So then you go, now does that change how we play the game? Yes, driver's lovely to hit and it's cool and it feels great when you nut it. But, and certainly in New Zealand when we're playing these tight tree-lined fairways where even a good drive can be, sometimes you've got a 25-metre fairway with trees either side. I was looking at some stats today of a young tour player from New Zealand, and one of the stats they measure is you're within a 25-meter target, and he's a tour player, and he's at about 33% in that zone. So, think about some of our fairways are only 25 meters wide, and we get pissed off when we miss them. But in actual fact, 30% of the time, tour players.
There's a hole at Tauranga, the 16th hole, and using Scott Fawcett's decade, if I overlay my dispersion on that, I'm hitting that fairway about 20% of the time with driver.
Yeah.
So, one, it's nice to stand there and go, I'm probably going to miss.
Yeah.
The expectations are completely gone. But then I go, is it even worth hitting it? Because it's tree lined and neither side is good if you're in the trees because they're low hanging, you can't even get to the green quite often. So it's interesting to think about the strategy, understanding that you want to be as close to the green as possible, but yeah, maybe that's coming back a bit and changing. Actually, maybe it is hybrid or something a little bit shorter off the tee. I might have 150 in instead of 90, but I'm from the fairway and I'm going to be able to hit the green a lot more often than chipping out. If I'm adding the fairway to 20% of the time.
Yeah, and if we're playing off appropriate tees, then if you hit it, let's say, what's the average par 4 in New Zealand? 340.
Yeah, so longer, I don't think.
So let's say you hit it 200 with your run out off the tee. You've only got 140 to the middle of the green. So, and if you're on a handicap where you get strokes, well, half the holes you hopefully
it's 140 meter par 4.
Par 4, yeah, because you tick that first box. And Scott Fawcett talks about the best players make less bogeys; they don't make more birdies. Yeah. So then they go back to sort of Dan stuff, like if you can make less bogeys, and so the same for us, if we can make less net bogeys, rather than more. Did you see? Did I show you those stats that I did the other day? Another weird thing that I was looking at. I want to say I did some stats on Kazuma over a year, and let's say he was. Actually, I'm going to get my phone.
All right, go on.
We can cut that out.
So, no, you grab your phone, but going back to the point, so you're really trying to get that apex higher so that the ball can come down steeper, which essentially is softer. Using 4 or 5 irons, there's not the mass behind the ball to get it up in the air. So the hybrids have a little bit more mass further back from the ball when you hit it, which is going to help get it up in the air. And interestingly, today, we'll talk about this soon, but we went to the sim, group of 4 of us. You were the oldest, but you're not particularly old and still have plenty of clubhead speed. But all 4 of us had a hybrid in the bag, and I think that might be the first time I've ever seen that where 4 decent golfers all have hybrids in the bag.
Yeah, and as you know, when I do play outside, it's my go-to club. I love it.
But go on,
so
get to your weird
I'm going to have to zoom in because I don't have my glasses on. So I did some stuff on Kazuma's last year as an amateur. For those that don't know, Kazuma Kabori, probably one of the best amateurs in the world last year, his record. So I got his best 20 rounds from his last year. From his approach play, he averaged hitting it to 31 feet. So it doesn't sound great. 31 feet, like 10 meters away from the hole every time.
I actually thought that sounded really good.
It does. Well, it is really good, but I think most people...
that's everything, and you think, I'm 60, 70 meters out. I should hit it to 10 feet.
Yeah. But he gained 1.44 strokes per round.
So say that again. So he hit it to 31 feet.
Yep.
And he gained strokes.
Yep. 1.44.
So he's hit it to 10 meters to the flag, and he's gained strokes.
And that was with a scoring average of 66.8 for those 20 rounds.
So 20 rounds, top 20 rounds, he averaged 66.
Yep. Now, in those 20 rounds, he would have had, on average, if we go Staplefords, if we put him on a scratch handicap, he would have had 1 4-pointer every 6 rounds. So most people, I reckon, at our club get pissed off if they don't have a 4-pointer in one round.
Yeah.
So he's having 1 every 6 rounds on his best 20 rounds too. That's not his average.
So,
And admittedly,
so a 4-pointer is a net
net
eagle.
eagle. Yeah.
Net eagle. And he's having one eagle every 6 rounds. But he's scoring and he's shooting 66.
66.8.
Yeah.
And he has 2 1-pointers every 3 rounds.
Okay.
So you imagine, like, most of us have got 2 1-pointers through 5 holes.
Yeah.
So, but that shows you it's not about the good holes. It's about the title of this. I was going to be a post, but I couldn't make it look cool. It was called Be Less Shit. On his average 20 rounds, on his middle 20 rounds, he averaged 1 4-pointer every 11 rounds. And 2 1-pointers per round on average. So then you think 2 1-pointers per round, that's pretty impressive. On his worst 20 rounds, he averaged 1 4-pointer every 20 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And he averaged 3 1/4 1-pointers per round. So that's his worst 20 though. If you think about that, like, I don't know about you, but I have 4 1-pointers probably every single time I play. He's doing that only on his worst rounds. So the difference between his best and his worst is actually not so much how much good he's doing or how many 4-pointers he's making and how many, if you think about, to your point before, when you said it's a par 4 from 140, well, if you had that mindset, and even, well, we've talked about it before, the 9th hole here, par 3, 170 odd metres, you stand there and actually they said this in the Open. I had it playing while I was doing something. What day was the real horrendous weather? Was that Friday? Second day? Second round? Yeah. And the commentators go, that was very nice of the R&A to make this a drivable par 4. That's unusual for them. And I was sitting there, I was on the back nine, I was thinking, oh, look, put the tees forward on. And then I thought, oh, maybe 18, but, and I'm getting close. But it was 17. They were hitting driver and 3-woods into 17. But the mindset would be, if that was a short par 4, they'd all be going, oh, mate, 3 here every day. But because it's a par 3, it's like, oh, probably bogeys. And I think we're the same. And so if we overlaid some of that stuff from Kazuma and go, first hole here, stroke 10, so half the field, most people get a shot on it.
Yeah.
Instead, it's par 5. Must be sweet. Maybe I don't need to hit drive. I'll just hit it down there and then I'll hit it up. And
we've talked about this a little bit before about I really dislike just the word or the concept of par, of having a par.
Yeah.
And if you went out and played the golf course and there was no par, and you could see a map of this first hole, and you broke it down to what's the best way to play this hole in the lowest shots possible, it'd probably be 4 iron up to the corner. If it was downwind, then you could reach with driver, it might suit you, but 4 iron down to the corner, 90 metres will be onto the green.
Mm.
But and maybe not the best example of that hole, but there's so many holes here where, it's a par 5, I better driver, or it's a par 3, I better try and hit it to the green when there might be all this trouble when something here makes it really simple if it's a long, long hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we took away the concept of par,
it
would be really interesting to see. It was laid out, here's the tee, here's the flag, and here's a map of the hole. Figure out the best way to get the lowest score.
That would be interesting. And because I think we're so constrained by it, is the concept of the par. Greg Turner actually said, this is a little bit different, but for the Asian Amateur in Royal Wellington, he came, because he designed the course, he came and talked to the players a bit. And the 4th hole and 5th hole at Royal Wellington run north-south and prevailing wind, either into or down. And he sort of said to the boys, have you played Royal Wellington? So 4's a par 5, 5's a par 4, but quite long.
Yep.
And he just said, see these 2 holes as a par 9. Because one of them's going to be downwind and they're not dissimilar in length by one. And it was that's quite a cool way to put
it. They did this, the commentators spoke a lot about that, the PGA as well. They had pretty much the same length. It was like holes 5 and 6 or something like that. And they're like, if you play that in 9 shots, you play this par. It doesn't matter what way you go about that, because one day the par 4 might be downwind or into the wind. It changes, but they're pretty much the same hole. One's going that way, one's going that way, and treated as par 9. Yeah, it's a cool way to look at it.
Do you think that I watched that golf this morning. Just love to go and play that. And I was talking to a mate last night. You know, it does enthuse you about playing golf. Do you reckon there's an actual uptake in people wanting to play golfers wanting to play more? Maybe not so much as an entry into the game, but do you think it has an influence on people wanting to get out and play more?
It's a good question. There must be some data on it. Where I thought you might be going with that question is, do more people start playing the game after seeing 20 years ago? Or after watching the Open, seeing 8 people shot on par for the entire tournament. So at least people go, oh, yeah, I enjoy watching it, but I'm not going to go and play. Or you watch the PGA and this guy's shooting 21. Oh, yeah, I'll keep to that. That's really easy.
Do you know what would be cool? And we're not far away from this, I think. Like VR goggles.
Yeah.
Imagine watching yesterday, or any day, really, and with VR goggles in 3D, like you're there. Because that's, as you know, I don't watch golf on TV. I watch probably the Masters and Open. I don't really watch even the US Open or the PGA because TV just doesn't do it justice. You don't get a sense of the lie, the wind, the elevation, the undulations. But if you had VR goggles, that experience, I reckon. Yeah. Someone, they can't be far away from that. You'd know.
Yeah, it must be close. The haptic suit that give you the feelings of what's happening too would be quite cool. So you can see the player hit the shot and you feel how thick that grass is or what the turf's like. That'd be interesting.
That would be. Imagine having that suit on when Mike Campbell's hitting a chip shot. Breaking knee.
Someone has to get him a knee brace as a gift. His birthday must be coming up.
Yeah,
I hope someone buys him a knee brace. Well, a proper Forrest Gump one, not a wraparound banded one.
Yeah.
Proper Forrest Gump with the screws and the bolts. Yeah, he might injure his knee next time he checks.
Yeah, that's harsh. But yeah, so I guess getting back to that, I reckon that'd be a cool way to watch golf and experience golf, and then I think people would get an understanding. Because if, like, I think about, even Mark Brown as an example, and he's way better than me. But if we both played here at Toronto, and let's say I played really well and he played just okay, at Toronto we might end up with not a dissimilar score, and someone from the outside might go, oh yeah, you guys are much the same. If we then go to Kinloch and we play exactly the same as we did here, he'll beat me by 6. And even if we were tied here. And then if we go to Kinloch and it's a tournament, and the tournament conditions, and it's firmer, and the greens are in, the pins are in tight, now we're beating by 10. But that's an interesting thing with our sport, is that can have, it's almost like this golf course becomes a leveler. And so they did which they do it a lot of times. I know we've talked about this before, but did you see that DP World Tour put out around asking what they think a scratch shot? It was between 85 and 95. And I 100% agree with that. And if it was in the if it was in the Open Championship, I think it's 85 to 95 just with the course, not with the pressure. Add the pressure in, and now you're talking.
On Saturday, if I took my Saturday game to the old shot 112 at Troon, I think.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because I hear that and I go, yeah, I can see myself, I'd easily shoot 95. Not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
I'd shoot 95. And I'm okay. But I do wonder when club scratch golfers watch that, they go, oh, yeah, probably most, but I reckon I'll get Gabby.
Most guys.
Yeah, most guys are probably going to reckon.
Yeah.
I don't think, and to be fair, even I don't understand how difficult it is, but I don't think people really understand just how difficult that is and the strength and the speed that they have. When they hit it in the rough, most people will be lucky to advance it. Just having the club head speed, it'll go there. Even just getting it back into the fairway would be a mission.
Yeah.
And some of those like blind tee shots, like not quite sure, so you don't fully commit. You lose one left or right, it's lost, or in those bunkers, there's +1 shot straight away because you're just chipping out just to get to the green. You've still got 190 to the green.
Yeah.
There's more bunkers around.
Well, did you see that? This is just a random shot, but Matt Fitzpatrick on one of the holes, maybe 6, par 5, I think. Maybe not, who knows? Doesn't matter. He's hit in the left bunker off the tee. And his only option was to go further out to the left into the hay. Like he could not, because the wall, it's like that.
Yeah.
He's there going that way. He's gone that way into the hay. That was the only option he had. I was sitting there thinking, like he can drop it in the bunker, but then he's got a HD, so it's probably just the same as hitting out of the hay. When do you ever see that?
Yeah.
On those US courses.
Yeah, I mean, the fairway bunkers we're used to seeing have a lip about that high.
Yeah.
You can have
Perfect
4
sand.
iron out. Yeah, it sits beautifully on top. It's lovely, and this just seems like soft sand. And this wall is just saying, no, you can't go this way. It might as well this side.
Yeah.
One way, turn around.
Yeah. Which I think that's cool. And that would be where, and that decision there is probably, that was clearly obvious. He had no other option. Obviously, one of the best players in the world can go sideways. But that's where I think the scratch golfer could come unstuck when their ball's back and that looks like they can get over, and then they don't. And now they're here and they're frustrated and they don't have the foresight or they try and hit it out. Yeah. So, I reckon that's where those VR goggles, looking back to that, that's where I reckon it would be cool for people to get a sense of what it's really like. And you hear it in all sports, right? Like you hear people say, the step up from Super Rugby to Test level, or NPC to Super and Super to Test level. Same game, but it's just
TV just doesn't do justice, does it?
Yeah.
When you get all that good. Like watching an NBA game on TV and you're like, you're about the same height, you're not that tall.
Yeah.
You go stand courtside.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
With the VR goggles, quick fire, one shot in history that you would love to put the VR goggles on, any players hit, feel what they felt, see what they saw. Next step would be go through the thought process of putting that shot. Sure. One off the top of your head?
The one that came to mind straight away was Ben Hogan, 1951 US Open, I think, when he hit the 2-iron. That was the first one that came to my mind because the 2-iron in those days. Tiger must have helped. You'd love to have seen. Maybe that putt. Was it? Where did he hold the putt? Yeah. No, when
it's been a couple of Bay Hill. There's been Torrey Pines.
US Open. Yeah. When he won the playoff the next day.
Yeah.
On the broken leg. Like that putt. Yeah. Would that be cool to be in the mind?
Oh, in mind, yeah.
I reckon.
The feeling of holding that, still that whole crowd.
Yeah. What about yours?
Maybe was it Gene Saracen who made the albatross and two at Augusta?
Was that the shot heard around the world?
Yeah, that one, something like that. Is there footage? There might be footage of it. But what else we could be? Yeah.
The chip shot on 16, I reckon, of Tigers.
It'd be hard to go if it'd be a recommended on YouTube. It'd be hard to skip that one. You want to have a look at that. To go through, if you could just see, even like, why is he looking over there? Like the flag's there. What's he doing looking over there? And the elevation and the undulation.
Yeah. Have you worn VR goggles?
Yeah.
They're pretty cool, eh?
Yeah. You do get lost in the environment. You move the couch back and make sure nothing's in the way, and all of a sudden you start hearing.
I put some on and I've gone off track here, but the first clip was of two guys having a yarn like this, and I had the VR goggles on there, and they were, just at a bar having a beer. And when you first put them on, you feel it, and it's a bit clumsy. But after a couple of minutes, I felt like it was the three of us together having a beer, and then the other one was walking out of an NFL stadium into an NFL stadium, and I got goosebumps, like looking around, going, and just, oh, right, this feels like a wet. Wow. Like that. And I was like, oh, this would be a game changer for golf.
Yeah.
And the guy that I was talking to, like, these were big, clunky goggles, but he reckons soon enough they'll be just feel like sunglasses.
Yeah. Imagine if you could experience walking on the first ever Ryder Cup.
Yeah. I don't think I would take it very well.
Actually, one shot that I might choose would be Bubba at Augusta popping that wedge on 10.
Yeah.
Because I can't see that shot. Not that I could have the skill to hit a lot of the amazing shots, but like Tiger, the bunker, that Canadian Canada.
We beat Grant Way.
Yeah, and I go, oh yeah, I don't have the strength or the speed or the skill to hit it, but I can see it. He's hit it nicely, and but Bubba's one.
Yeah,
lefty, but how do you hook a wedge that much and still control the distance to some degree? Yeah.
It's one thing, being at Golf National where the Olympics are and where they had the Ryder Cup, we did watch a bit of the Ryder Cup in preparation and stuff. And I think it was built for the, I can't remember. It's old. But anyway, it's designed to be a place where you watch golf in. So the first tee banks up and then they have the grandstand. And so you stand on the first tee and imagine what that would, and even that just made me a bit nervous going, holy hell. Colin Montgomery used to say he would do the 13 times tables in his head because he was so nervous. That was like kind of distracting. So I've tried that. Got to 26 and had to have it. Yeah. But it'd be funny to know, what does Tiger do? That's where I was thinking there was that when you mentioned the first tee of the Ryder Cup. Because when you're in the moment, like him on 16, you're already in it, I think. So that adrenaline and anxiety and stuff, well, the adrenaline's probably still high, but anxiety not so much. But that 16th hole, so he's in it. But the first tee of the Ryder Cup, I'd love to know, Jack Nicklaus, does he still get twitchy? And what does he do to Tiger?
Was it, going back to Bubba again, when he actually wanted the crowd to be noisy, was that a little bit of like a coping mechanism to go, I'd actually calm me down and blocks out the noise in my head? Maybe, I'm not sure.
Well, funny you say that, because when a few years ago, was lucky enough to spend time with Aaron Cruden, who was practicing his goal kicking. And because I was thinking, pre-shot routine and kicking, not just some of the golf, so spent a little bit of time with him while he was training, and I said to him, how hard is it when you're trying to kick and it's really noisy? Like imagine playing Cape Town or Pretoria, and the crowd are right on you, and he said, mate, that's easy because I can't hear myself think. He said the problem is when we kick, and I can't remember if it was Ireland or Wales, but the crowd go deadly silent.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's hard because you can start here. And I was thinking, that's true. Like in golf, it's that sudden noise that I think golfers don't want. It's the sudden phone ringing or movement. But if it was just constant, I reckon it would be easy. So I get it with Bubba.
Yeah. But funny you say that. On Saturday, 14th hole at Tauranga, it's right next to the road, the tee. And I had a bad experience at Rotorua Golf Club where par 5, right along the road, and someone tooted right on top of my swing, and I've just yipped it straight out of bounds.
Onto the road?
Onto the road, yeah. Probably almost at the car that tooted at me. But on the 14th, for whatever reason, on Saturday, I was like, I hope someone didn't toot my backswing. And it was almost like the silence was the worst part.
Yeah.
And I was kind of waiting for a gap, but there wasn't really a gap in the traffic. So I got over there, and the tempo was so quick, and I just kind of thinned one out there. No one tooted, no one cared. But the anticipation of that happening, or that may be happening, was worse than it probably happened. If it happened, I might have just yipped it. But it was really weird. I haven't had that before, but the whole time I was over the ball, my pre-shot
on Saturday.
Yeah, my pre-shot routine was trying to get to the ball where there was going to be a gap in the traffic, and it was really, really weird. And I just had this awful feeling someone's going to toot and then I end up making a swing as if someone did anyway. So I might as well just hit.
Do you ever get that? Have you had that before?
I've thought about it before, but I've never. Yeah, but I've never actually. I've kind of just forgotten about it when I'm about to take the ball, and it's gone out of my mind. But this was like the whole time.
What was your favourite hole from the? Or if you could play one hole, maybe not so much your favourite hole from Troon, what would you play?
It's hard to not say the postage stamp because the thought of just setting a nice little wedge is. I know I can hit a really good one, but also if we get it slightly wrong, it'll be interesting to see how you go out of some of those bunkers. But I actually like that blind tee shot on 10. We hit it over the mound, and the fairway goes that way. It's it's slightly uncomfortable, but I guess the shape of the fairway is my miss would be short right, so it feels like it's always in the fairway, and if it's long left, it's still in the fairway. But that blind tee shot, there's something cool about that. Where you try and pick a spot either on the hill, probably nothing in the distance that you can spot to, and you just have to step up and try and slot it. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I think the postage stamp, just because it would be so unique and so accessible for everyone. 99 yards, but you had a good shot, so well rewarded because you hit a bad shot and you can make double or triple really easily. So I think for me that would be really cool. I mean, you got was it 7 at people? 8 7 at people going 7. But with no wind, that's a pretty simple hole. Whereas the postage stamp, even with no wind, it's hard.
It's a tiny target. It was 7 at people. It's a roundish, squarish green. Not really. You could probably just aim at the middle of the green, and your dispersion, most of them are going to be on there. Whereas this one here, you kind of have to really be precise because it's an oddly shaped green. You can't really just aim at the middle because it's a small green. You're not going to have that long of a putt, but you don't want to also hit it 20 feet past or some trouble all around.
Yeah,
there's a hole at TRI South, I want to say. It's a little bit, I guess, the version of postage stamp. It must be around 14, 15, around there. And I reckon it played 99, 105 metres, something like that. That was quite cool. Big bunker there, but there's a mound on the right and the green kind of goes round. You could have 5 or 6 different pins and it would play different to each of them. And this one was at the front, and it was really cool. It felt like the green was about 5 or 6 meters wide where the pin was. So if you wanted to play that yardage, you had to be bang on.
Yeah.
And on accurate. So it's quite cool.
Yeah. Did you see that clip on social media doing the rounds? I think it was Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas playing at North Berwick Golf Club. They were on 16th maybe, and just a famous links course in Scotland. It's windy as all you can hear in the microphones is that crackle of wind, but they're playing these bump and run shots, and they're like a couple of kids in a playground, like just exploring things, and it makes you go, why have we not got more? Why are our practice greens? I mean, this wasn't practice green, this was the actual hole, but you got 2 guys who can get onto any practice, but they're just like kids in a candy store hitting shots and trying stuff and laughing and joking. And man, that'd be so cool if you could create that. If every club had not even for kids, but even for adults, like imagine if you had a practice facility that Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas would just go, I'd love to spend hours there.
Yeah. We think about club golfers, and there's some really easy games to be made with the short game. But it can be so boring to practice short game. It can be fun to stand on the range and just bang drivers and bang 7-irons. It's nice and wide. But on the short game, you generally have 1 or 2 spots to kind of hit from, and they all kind of go into the same area. I do wonder if they had this big, elaborate putting green and chipping green with spots over here and spots over here, and you can hit up down slope and up slope. If people would just come out and practice their short game more, because you can actually spend an hour and get lost just hitting different shots, you're like, oh, where did time go?
Yeah. There's a wicked range in Clearwater Golf Club in Christchurch. Just opened up. They've got an amazing range, trackman range, putting green that would be have to be about 40 meters by 50 meters. I reckon, like it's huge. And then this pitching green that I was down there with because we were lucky enough to be able to use that facility. And I think the first morning we spent 4 hours without even blinking, and then he was like, we better go do some other stuff. Otherwise, we're just going to be here all day. And you literally could have been here all day because of that sort of stuff. There were shot options you could try, and the conditions we were making as well. But yeah, I think there's some good stuff happening out there. There's some good golf courses being built and some good facilities being built. But yeah, if anyone in Christchurch area, I mean, I think we've got 3 listeners, so I think one of them's in Christchurch. Certainly
head on down.
Head on down. Drop our name so you heard it on ForeRight. You won't get a discount. Yeah.
One thing with the Open is, you've mentioned this before, so you caddied at the 2013 Open, Mark Brown, yes, your field, and it's really easy to think it's just a lottery. You can get forced out of the draw, or you get so unlucky and that. And there's been some names who have won the Open who haven't been ranked in the top 10, top 20 in the world at the time. So you think, is it just a lottery? What? And your argument is, no, look at the names at the top, and even though there's a couple of random ones, it is a who's who of golf. But what do you say to the ones, Bryson missed the cut, Roy missed the cut, Tiger missed a lot of cuts, missed maybe all the cuts this year. Who else missed the cut? The Hovland missed the cut. Like some really, really top golfers. Is it just the way it goes? What goes wrong on weeks like that? It doesn't. There doesn't seem to be another major where a big group of good names all miss the cut at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I guess to your first point was when I caddied for Browning, we're coming down 18 or the 72nd hole, and that course, Muirfield, like I wouldn't break 90 there in open conditions to go. And I said to him, and it was so hard. I said to him, we're walking down the fairway looking up. Well, we weren't looking up. Actually, we were just walking down the 18th, and I just said to him, it's actually just a bit of a lottery. Like it's so hard. It's a bit lucky. And he just pointed to the leaderboard, and it was like Mickelson, Woods, Scott, Stenson. It was just a who's who of golf. And he goes, if it was a lottery, they wouldn't be up there. Those guys are just that good. So I think there's that, and it was a good point. But then equally, like, as you say, like some amazing players miss the cut. I think it's the unique nature of, like Bryson probably win next year. But if you were going to pick a golfer whose game wasn't designed for an Open, like it would be him, right? Like just a big high bomb. But then, so a lot of those guys don't play much of it. Like if you're from America, you probably haven't played links golf until you make an Open championship. But then you get Victor Hovland would have played plenty. So maybe that's it. I know a lot of the Aussies do well, I think, in the Open Championship, and that their sandbelt courses, while they're not links, they're a pretty good mix. And so they're taught that type of golf. It's a shame we don't have more of them because it's such a better spectacle. Yeah. And I don't know why you don't have to be in Scotland to play links golf. We could pull out it'd be interesting to talk to Mike Clayton, actually. I reckon he's a really good thinker. We should get him on the podcast. Do you know? No. Because I'd love to understand what is it about. Like the 16th hole at Tiki Golf Club in Hamilton, where Lockyer Golf Club was.
Yeah, remind me of that one.
Short par four, like you could drive it on.
Yeah.
Green tilts away from
the green like this now?
Yeah. It's narrow green, tilts away, slopes off to the side.
I remember actually the one time I played it, I hit it probably pin high. I was right.
Yeah.
And it felt like the green, I don't know, it was like 20 metres long, but it's about 5 metres wide if you're looking from the tee. But being on this side of it, I had about 5 metres of depth to have my shot, and Just toast. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Rion Sayer, myself, and Simon Thomas stood on it a couple of weeks back watching a national event. And the guys that made Hit Driver, I don't know if we saw a birdie, to be honest. Yeah. One guy made like 8, just kept going across. But there was a couple of guys that went iron, angle straight up the green. And it's only like, 3-iron sandwich. But such a cool hole because, have a go with driver. Yeah, you can knock it on. Yeah. But if you don't, you're going to have to be really good somewhere else. And if we think about some of the best holes that we've played, they're often the short par fours. So it'd be cool to get Mike Clayton and go, if we could just, even this golf course really short. But imagine if you could just spend $100,000 on every green. And just say to the course designer, you can't touch anywhere because we can't have more land like Golf New Zealand courses are jammed in. But you can do it even like within 50 yards of the green. And we want it to be playable for my mum. I want my mum to be able to enjoy it, but I want it to be challenging for me. And I think you've played TR. I believe that can be a bit that way. Like it's accessible for everyone. And that to me would be wicked design. And that's probably not quite what they've got at Troon. Not sure my mum would enjoy Troon. So I reckon that'd be cool. Like, how do we get those type of things? We should get played them on. Do you know? I've met him more than me. We want to go anything.
I'm not sure. I don't even know where we started with it.
Mm.
Do you have any other? Did you have any other notes there?
No, not really. Like the most, as I was saying, I enjoy the stats. Foxy actually, the other one I just glanced down and just saw that, just caught a glimpse. And Foxy was 3rd on birdie chances inside 30 feet for the week.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, like good ball striker. And the other one that I thought was surprising or was impressive, Xander Schauffele, no bogeys, low round of 65, low round of the day, maybe even the tournament. And no bogeys when you're in contention of a major where it's single digits under par, like far out.
It's just 6 under. I think it must have been the lower of the tournament because 5 under was leading the first day. No one would have shot 5 the second or third day because that was rubbish weather. So it must have been the low round of the tournament to win the major. And like you said, when you woke up, it was almost felt like it was gone.
Yeah,
at that stage. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah. But so no, that was it for me. And now the only downside is we've got the Olympics in a couple of weeks, and hopefully Leah and Foxy and Dan can do something cool. But now we're going to wait for April.
And then your favourite majors going to be
yeah.
What do you think about golf in the Olympics?
It's a good question because if we think about what the Olympics involves, like what is the point of the Olympics? I think it's to, it's all about sportsmanship and to share love through sport and all that good stuff. So it's good for our game to get that exposure, to be seen by more people, to get more coverage. So I think it's a cool opportunity for golf. I would love to play. And I would love to go to the Olympics. I'd love to play in the Olympics. So there's all that stuff that I think is really cool. We're lucky to be involved, to be part of it. I think to have our sport on the global stage, and it's a real cool opportunity. And I think people watch it at the Olympics. They want to see Lydia. It's like rowing. Like I never watch rowing, but I'll probably watch the rowing at the Olympics. Because it's New Zealand and it's and like quite good at it, so that helps. Like winning
chance in the middle.
Yeah. It's free exposure for us. So I think in that respect, it's fantastic. Also the Olympics. I think it's an opportunity to showcase the sport. Lydia, last year, I don't know if you remember, last Olympics, I don't know if you remember, but did she get silver or bronze at the last one?
Bronze, silver the first time I think we were.
And maybe she was in a playoff, or there was something going on for the bronze medal, and her opponent, or the person she was playing against and competing with, had a really good shot. And Lids is smiling and clapping. oh, that's cool. I'm like, we need to celebrate that in our golf, that in our sport, rather that Lydia can go, that was a great shot. I love that. I'm still going to beat you, but wicked, that's cool. Rather than, some of the other, well, not necessarily some of the other sports, but some combative sports, not just physically combative. You don't get that as much. You're not really celebrating other people. So I think for us, yeah, it's wicked.
Would you? I'm not sure the way it's currently done is the right way, or if it's best, just being a stroke play event. I'm not sure if it needs to change, or if a different type of golf, like a speed golf, that's a little bit. Probably the one thing that gets me is that we've got the majors. So where does it fit with that? And yes, I know the medal winners are still proud of their medals they've won, but it doesn't appear like any of the top players go, I'm going to build towards the Olympics because that's the one I want to win. And like Tiger comes out just for the majors, he hasn't qualified for the Olympics, but it's not like he's done everything he can to try and qualify for the Olympics to make that one of his events that he plays, and it's another event as part of their schedule. So I wonder if it's if it should be an amateur event where then, yeah, I would love to go to the Olympics and I'd love to play my sport in the Olympics. Would it be better suited to maybe amateurs, or we change the thing?
Speed golf is a hard no.
No.
Yeah. A hard no.
Why's that?
Grower. Not even going to justify it.
Go on, justify.
But there's opportunities to go, what could we have a teams event, like your best male and your best female combined, pre-organised, so you can't just choose Dan because it beats Foxy that week. Your highest rank, but not every country has a male and a female qualify, but there's no reason to, I think that'd be cool because you play your own ball anyway, so there's a few team formats that you could do. I think if we think about golf and what it does and what Lydia does when Lydia wins, and wins consistently, numbers of young girls who play golf in New Zealand increase. So I'm not sure if we would have that same impact if an amateur won. So there's the bit for me that goes, would an amateur have that impact, and therefore are we getting the most out of it? I think for golf, the best thing is that the best players play. They may not treasure it as much as a major, but they probably still understand the importance of it. But no, speed golf. So
great place for speed golf.
It makes sense, but it's just
it's a start. I mean, 10 seconds ago, you started. No, so there you go. Now it makes sense for him.
Yeah. My final question for you, and I hope you've given this some thought because we've talked about it a few times.
I don't know the question yet.
Yeah, I know, but you always go, I've never given that any thought. What's your dream four ball? Oh, you have gone. Good man.
Phil Ivey.
Hold on. Who'd you say first? I've talked over all three of them.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, Phil Ivey, Darren Brown.
Right. Who's Phil Ivey?
He's a poker player.
Right.
Probably the best poker player that's ever most.
Yeah. And do you reckon Darren Brown could trick you into playing with him?
I don't think he's trick into playing with him. I don't know why he would. Yes. Maybe.
Yeah, that's quite cool, actually. I like that. Yeah, nice. Darren Brown, I reckon. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's just, I just don't understand half the shit he says. So, I think it would be. What have
you listened to?
No, he's
a
long time.
The one thing I like about him is he does such a great job of explaining it to me who doesn't understand. He could say it in his lingo and sound cool. So, but he doesn't. He breaks it down.
Yeah.
He puts out some really cool tweets, and it'd be cool to have it in front of me. I wish I'd known this question was coming.
Well, you must have, because you had a good answer.
But he said, and the Super Bowl was on one year, and he said the kicker has to aim 0.13 inches to the left if he's kicking in this direction to allow for the Earth's rotation if he wants to get it straight down the center or something like that. Like, it's irrelevant, but he's fucking that smart.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what impact that has on this event.
This is like Bryson.
Very cool. Yeah, Bryson would love it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The poker player. Why the poker player? For living, was it?
For living. He pretty much has done nothing in the public eye. He's done a couple of interviews in his life. There's this mystique about him. It's everybody that plays poker will dream of sitting at the table. There's like this instant intimidation where people just freak out when they play with him because they feel like they read his soul or something like that. I think it would be really interesting if you'd need a little bit of time to dig into trying to get some stories out. I think he'd have some incredible stories to tell.
Yeah.
He also does enjoy golf. There used to be this World Series of golf, which I may have talked to you a little bit before. I'm interested in trying, where you start with a certain amount of chips or money, and you play golf like it's poker. So do you want to go?
No, you go.
Okay. So we start on the first tee. Let's say we have 100 chips each. On the first hole, the ante is 10 chips. Okay, so we both put 10 chips in. We both hit our shots. We get up there. It's my turn to bet first. I've hit an okay one in the fairway. You've hit one in the rough. I say I'm going to bet 20 chips. You can either call and we both hit our shots. You can raise or you can fold and I take whatever's in that. So I take the 2 10s out of there. So I win 20 chips. You've still got 90 chips to do. And once you're out of chips, you're out. So I can go all in. You can go call. And then we finish the hole. Whoever's the lowest score wins. If we half it,
that would be cool.
The chips. So obviously, if you understand poker, it'll be quite easy to understand that. It'll be hard to explain to someone.
Yeah.
I think once you got the hang of it, but you're almost betting on. So having a deep understanding of strokes gained would be really key in that. Going, I know from here it's going to take me this, and I know from here he's toast. He's got no chance. So I'm going to bet bigger, and there's a bit of backing yourself. So you go, I actually think I'm better than this guy, so I'm going to bet more. And then I go, you know what? All right, I'm going to back myself and have a shot here. So you're almost betting on each shot.
Does it have to be 2 on 1-on-1?
It wouldn't have to be.
Because I was thinking about a poker table.
Yeah. Oh no, so yeah, you
could have 4
Yeah,
individuals.
you could play in a group of 4. You just, as long as you have turns betting. So I would go, you'd go, I fold or call. Guy up there who's driven the green goes, I raise all in. So you could,
but it'll be harder probably. Because I think you could actually have a tournament where you could have 16 people, like eight 2 balls go out, and then it's 8, and then it's 4, and it's 2.
So they used to have this World Series of golf, I think, which is they have a World Series of poker and they call it the World Series of golf. It was $100,000 buy-in. So he played in that. This Phil played in that, and it's not just down to golf skill, so you still get your handicap, and it would be based on the shot, so it would kind of be Stableford. It would go based on Stableford. So if it was a stroke hole, I know that you're getting a stroke and at the time as well.
That's quite cool. I like that. Of those 3, who do you reckon the easiest to get around with would be? Obviously, 3 incredibly hard people. You're probably not going to play with any of them, but if I said I'd give you $1 million if you get one of them to play with, and you can't say to them, "I'll give you $900,000 if you have to go to golf."
That probably wouldn't be enough for Livey. He bets bigger than that. I don't know if Neil deGrasse Tyson even likes golf. I don't know. Darren Brown's never talked about golf, so it might be Phil Ivey just because he played golf and lives in Las Vegas, so plenty of decent courses around there. Feel like it'd be. Do you want to game of golf one day? If you saw him at a casino, do you want to game of golf on Saturday? I feel like it'd be the easiest one to go,
I don't know much about casinos or poker, as you know, but I don't imagine that you and Phil are playing the same poker tables if he goes to a casino.
So
Don't they have special rooms for those people?
yeah, it depends what he's playing. So yes, if he's playing in what they call private games, but it's just the highest buy-in. So yeah, it wouldn't be unusual for him to have $1 million sitting in front of him. So I wouldn't be sitting at that table. But in the World Series of poker, so when I was in the US a couple of years ago, I went and played in one of the World Series events. I was here and he was at a table joining me as well.
Really?
Yeah. So
you're pretty much famous.
If I had lasted longer, there was a chance that I could have been on his table. But everyone pays their entry fee. You get a ticket. Here's your seat number.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we started with golf. We finished with poker. But I like your idea of the World Championship of Poker. Well, sorry, World Championship.
Yeah, you got it all wrong. But
the New Zealand Championship of Golf. The Tauranga, the Royal Troon Championship. We could start that as an event. Maybe not the $100,000 buy. I think we are onto something there. The ForeRight Championship of Golf. I like it. Thank you, Scott.